Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive. Whether you are getting ready for a really big meeting, or maybe you're like diving into something totally new, or even if you are just curious about this stuff, we're going to be looking at how we make decisions.
Oh, yeah.
It's fascinating. And get this, we are going to be approaching it from the angle of life being more like poker than chess.
Interesting.
Our goal is to make you a better decision maker, someone who learns from their experiences, really rationally and can handle uncertainty like a
Yeah.
pro. You're ready to level up those decision-making skills.
Absolutely. It's so interesting how we often just look at what happened at the end to decide if a decision was good or not.
Right.
Like if things turned out great, we think, wow, what a genius move. But if it doesn't work out, then it's automatically a bad decision. It's way too simple, though.
Yeah, you're totally right. We forget how much luck and outside stuff plays a part. It's like, imagine a courtroom where the only thing that matters is if the patient lives or dies, totally ignoring how hard the surgery was or any unexpected problems.
That is a perfect example. Like that crazy Super Bowl XLIX play.
Oh, yeah.
The Seattle Seahawks, they were so close to winning, and they went for a pass instead of giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch.
Right.
If that pass had worked, everyone would be calling Pete Carroll a genius. But nope, it got intercepted, and oh boy, the criticism was harsh.
So how can we avoid getting stuck in this trap of only caring about the outcome? The answer is thinking in bets. Instead of obsessing over the results, thinking in bets means treating every decision like a calculated risk.
Yeah.
Like, you're acknowledging that life is full of uncertainty. And even when you make smart choices, things might not go as planned.
Absolutely.
It's like instead of judging a whole movie just on the ending, you're appreciating everything, the director's choices, the shots, the acting, the whole process.
That's a great way to put it. This mindset helps us separate the quality of the decision from just dumb luck.
Right.
It makes learning from experience less emotional and more objective.
And this leads us to how we form beliefs, which is super interesting.
Right.
Get ready to have some of your assumptions challenged,
Yeah.
because it turns out our brains aren't always the super logical fact-checking machines we think they are.
Yeah, the research actually suggests that we tend to believe something first and then maybe question it later.
Really?
Yeah. Think about all those myths that people just accept as true, like that shaving makes your hair grow back thicker,
Oh, yeah.
or that we lose most of our body heat through our heads. These beliefs stick around even though there is no real scientific proof.
It's like our brains are set up to take in information as true without really checking it out first. Why would we evolve to be so gullible?
Well, our ancestors lived in a world full of danger. And in that kind of environment, quickly believing something was actually a good thing for survival.
Right.
Rustling bushes.
Mm.
Better to assume it's a predator and react fast. Questioning takes time, and time could mean, life or death.
Makes sense.
Mm.
But in today's world, where we have more information than ever and the threats aren't as immediate, that same system can actually lead us in the wrong direction. Does this mean that even smart people can be tricked by misinformation?
Studies have shown that people with higher cognitive abilities, those who are really smart, can actually be even better at justifying their beliefs.
Wow.
Even when those beliefs are wrong, it's like they're experts at building arguments to defend their position no matter what.
So intelligence can be a double-edged sword, I guess. How do we break free from this tendency to hold on to beliefs even when they're proven wrong? Can thinking in bets help here too?
Absolutely. When we frame our decisions as bets, it forces us to look at how confident we really are in our beliefs. Would you actually put money on it? Putting something at stake encourages us to evaluate information more critically and break free from just hearing our own echo chamber.
I really like this idea. It reminds me of how scientists talk about uncertainty in their findings. They use things like p-values and confidence intervals, basically saying they're not claiming absolute truth. It's just a degree of confidence based on what they know. Could we apply that to our own lives?
That's a great point. It's about accepting that we can't always be 100% certain about things. Instead of chasing that, we can focus on making the best choices possible based on the evidence we have and understanding that there are always unknowns.
This makes me think of a story from the world of professional poker.
Uh-huh.
Our sources mentioned a crazy bet involving John Hennigan, a famous poker player.
Oh, yeah.
It involved moving to Des Moines for a whole month with some unusual conditions.
Ah, yes, the Des Moines bet. Hennigan was basically stuck on one street with not much to do. Pretty rough for someone used to the excitement of Vegas. But he saw it as a chance to improve his game by focusing on golf. He even made sure he could play golf as part of the bet.
That's wild how he turned what seemed like a terrible restriction into a strategic advantage. This brings us to the concept of a truth-seeking group, or as our sources call it, a decision pod.
Right.
Even though he was in Des Moines, Hennigan still had his network of poker buddies to give him feedback and analyze his game.
Yeah.
And this idea of a truth-seeking group, it goes way beyond poker. It's about surrounding ourselves with people who will challenge our assumptions, point out our blind spots, and help us see things more clearly, like having a personal board of directors for our lives.
Yes, a group of trusted advisors who bring different viewpoints and help us make better decisions. But how do we create such a group? And what qualities should we look for in the members? Our sources suggest looking to the Mertonian norms of science, often called HUAS.
Udos.
These norms provide a solid framework for building a truth-seeking charter within a decision pod.
Udos. Sounds like a secret society for rational thinkers.
Mm.
So what exactly are these Mertonian norms?
The first one is communism, but not in the political way.
Okay.
It means everyone in the group shares data and information. Being transparent and open in communication is key.
So it's about creating a safe space where people can share their thoughts and ideas without being judged like a no-ego zone for intellectual exploration.
Exactly. The next norm is universalism.
Right.
This emphasizes that we should use the same standards of evidence no matter where the information comes from.
Right.
Ideas are judged based on their merit, not on who said them or how fancy the words were.
That's really important. We have to avoid that trap of automatically believing someone just because they have a fancy title or reputation.
Exactly. Then we have disinterestedness. This one stresses being objective and impartial during group discussions. We need to be aware of conflicts of interest, even those hidden ones.
It's like making sure that personal agendas or biases don't cloud the group's judgment. Everyone needs to be truly committed to finding the truth, even if it contradicts what they thought before.
Precisely. And last but not least, we have organized skepticism. This means encouraging respectful disagreement and open debate to really understand things better.
Yeah.
We create a culture of curiosity where every idea is tested and challenged in a good way.
I can see how this could lead to a much stronger and insightful decision-making process. But how do these norms play out in the real world?
Imagine your decision pod is helping you decide about a big career change.
Okay.
Communism would mean being open about why you want the change, what you hope to achieve, even things like your finances. Universalism means looking at each career option using objective criteria, not just gut feelings or prestige.
Right.
Disinterestedness means being honest about any personal biases you might have that could affect your choice. And organized skepticism would mean inviting the group to challenge your thinking and point out other paths you might have missed.
Wow, so it's about using the collective wisdom of the group, using their different viewpoints to really test your assumptions and help you make a smarter choice. I'm starting to see how powerful this can be. But what about those internal battles we face, like wanting something now versus what's good for us in the long run?
Ah, yes, the classic struggle between instant gratification and what we want down the road. Our sources dive into some cool mental time travel techniques that can help us bridge that gap and make choices that match our long-term goals.
Ooh.
We can explore those in our next segment.
Sounds like we're about to go on a mind-bending trip through time. I can't wait to learn how to use these mental time travel techniques to make smarter decisions and build a better future. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into decision-making. Last time we were talking about how thinking in bets can help us make better choices and how our beliefs are formed, which is so fascinating.
It is.
But now we're going on a journey through time to explore these mental time travel techniques that can help us make choices that actually match our long-term goals.
Yeah, it's like our minds have this incredible ability to go beyond the present moment.
Right.
We can project ourselves into the past and the future just by thinking about it. And by using this mental time travel, we gain these valuable insights that can really shape our decisions today.
This is so cool. It's like having a time machine in our heads. How can we actually use this to make better decisions?
One powerful technique is called the 10-10-10 approach.
Okay.
Basically, you pause and think about how you'd feel about a certain decision in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years.
Interesting.
This simple exercise makes you consider both the immediate and long-term consequences of your actions so you can break free from that urge for instant gratification.
It's like hitting the pause button on our impulses and getting a wider perspective. I bet this is especially helpful when we're dealing with choices that feel good in the moment,
Hmm.
but might actually hurt us in the long run.
Exactly. Let's say you really want to eat a big piece of cake even though you're trying to be healthier.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling.
If you use the 10-10-10 approach, you might realize that the enjoyment fades really quickly, like in 10 minutes, but then you feel guilty for a while, maybe 10 months, and the effect on your health could last for years, 10 years down the line.
Right?
That wider perspective lets you weigh the pros and cons better and choose what's truly good for you in the long term.
So it's like getting advice from wiser versions of ourselves across time. Are there any other mental time travel techniques we can use?
There's also backcasting, which is pretty cool.
It's a
You imagine your ideal future outcome and then work backward to figure out the steps you need to get there. Like, say you want to be a successful entrepreneur.
Okay.
With backcasting, you'd picture yourself running a thriving business in, say, 5 years. Then you'd carefully map out the milestones, the skills you need, the resources, everything to get to that point. It's like creating a roadmap for your journey.
It's amazing. It's like reverse engineering success.
Yeah.
By starting at the end and working back, we can break down huge goals into smaller, manageable steps.
Exactly. Backcasting gives you clarity and direction. It turns vague dreams into concrete plans.
This brings up a good question, though. What about all the unexpected obstacles and setbacks we face along the way? How can we prepare for those?
That's where premortems come in.
Premortems.
Yeah, you basically rehearse potential failures in your mind. You identify risks and come up with backup plans. Imagine you're launching a new product. A premortem would involve getting your team together and brainstorming all the ways the launch could go wrong. Production delays, bad reviews, you name it.
Oh, I see.
By thinking about these challenges beforehand, you can come up with strategies to minimize risks and increase your chances of success.
It's like a fire drill for our decisions. By imagining what could go wrong, we're better prepared to handle the unexpected and adjust our plans if needed.
Exactly. Premortems help us develop a proactive mindset. We not only picture success, but we also plan for potential obstacles.
So far, we've been talking about mental time travel using our imagination and thinking skills. But are there any tools that use technology to help us connect with our future selves?
There are, like age progression imaging, which is often used in those retirement planning apps.
That's it. Those are cool.
They use your photos and special algorithms to create realistic images of what you might look like in the future. It's a powerful way to make the consequences of our choices today feel more real. Seeing a realistic image of our older selves can motivate us to prioritize long-term goals, like saving money or taking care of our health.
It's like getting a glimpse into the future and seeing how our decisions today will affect our older selves.
Mhm.
I can see how that visual would be way more impactful than just thinking about abstract future scenarios.
Definitely. Age progression imaging taps into the power of visuals to evoke emotions and strengthen our bond with our future selves. It really highlights how connected our choices are across different periods of our lives.
These mental time travel techniques are like a whole toolkit for making better decisions. By using them, we can make choices that not only satisfy us now, but also align with our long-term aspirations.
It's all about understanding that our present selves aren't isolated. We're deeply connected to our past experiences and our hopes for the future.
Right.
By embracing this connection, we can grasp the impact of our choices and make decisions that benefit all versions of ourselves across time.
So we've taken this amazing journey through mental time travel and learned so much about how to use the power of our minds to make smarter and more fulfilling choices. But there's still more to explore when it comes to decision making.
There is.
We need to learn how to avoid pitfalls, uncover hidden biases, and develop strategies for success. We'll dive into all of that in our next segment. And we are back for the final part of our deep dive on decision making. We've talked about thinking in bets, how we form beliefs, and even time traveled with our minds.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
But now let's get practical and figure out how to spot and avoid those pesky cognitive biases, the mental shortcuts that can really trip us up.
Our brains are amazing, always trying to simplify things and make quick judgments.
Right.
But that efficiency can backfire and lead to these cognitive biases, like ingrained habits of thinking that can distort how we see things and make us act irrationally.
So it's like our brain is a supercomputer that sometimes has glitches, leading to bad decisions. How can we catch these glitches, these biases in our own thinking?
Well, the words we use can actually reveal a lot.
Really?
Yeah. Pay attention to how you speak, and it might point to hidden biases. For example, if you use the word wrong a lot, it could mean you see things in black and white, which oversimplifies complex situations.
It's a good reminder that most decisions aren't so clear-cut. Holding on to absolutes can make us miss other perspectives and possibilities. What other language patterns should we watch out for?
Saying things like, I'm absolutely sure, or there's no doubt in my mind, can actually show that you're not open to new information or questioning your own beliefs.
It's like we're building walls around our beliefs, protecting them from being challenged and
Yeah.
preventing us from growing. Any other verbal red flags to watch out for?
When you shut down other viewpoints by saying that's ridiculous or you're clearly mistaken, you're stopping productive conversations and discouraging people from sharing their ideas.
It creates an environment where different opinions aren't welcome, and we miss out on diverse perspectives, which are essential for making good decisions. So it's not just what we say, but how we treat others' ideas too.
Exactly. And we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves when we make mistakes. Saying things like, I'm so stupid or how could I be so careless only makes us afraid to take risks in the future.
It's important to remember that everyone messes up sometimes. Setbacks are just part of learning. Instead of dwelling on our mistakes, we should focus on how to learn from them and improve our decision making.
By becoming more aware of these language patterns, both in ourselves and others, we can start to spot those sneaky biases. It's about thinking more carefully and being willing to question our own assumptions.
This reminds me of something we discussed earlier, the Ulysses contract, that strategy of making a commitment beforehand to overcome our bad habits. How can we use that to protect ourselves from these biases?
A Ulysses contract is like a safety net to keep us from making impulsive decisions that go against our long-term goals.
Right, it's like setting rules for our future selves, guiding us toward good choices even when our emotions try to take over. Could you give some real-life examples of how Ulysses contracts work?
Think of a swear jar. It's a simple but effective way to stop swearing so much. You pay a penalty for each slip-up, and that makes you less likely to do it again.
It's funny how our dislike of losing money can help us change our behavior and reach our goals. What are some other Ulysses contracts?
In poker, setting a limit on how much you're willing to lose can prevent reckless bets driven by emotions.
Right.
And when you're buying a house, setting a budget beforehand helps you avoid overspending just because you get caught up in the excitement.
So it's about knowing our weaknesses and creating systems to protect ourselves from our own irrational impulses, especially in situations where we're feeling emotional.
Exactly. Ulysses contracts make us pause and rethink before giving in to temptation. It's like injecting a dose of logic when our emotions are running wild.
These contracts sound like a really useful tool for sticking to our goals, navigating those tricky biases, and making choices that align with our long-term vision.
As we wrap up our deep dive into decision making, it's clear that making good choices is a continuous process. We need to keep learning, questioning ourselves, and growing from our experiences. Let's boil down all we've discussed into 10 key takeaways that you can use to become a better decision maker.
Sounds like a great way to end our exploration. I'm ready to turn these valuable insights into practical tools I can use every day.
Okay, number one, embrace the idea of thinking in bets. This mindset helps us remember that every decision has risks and that things don't always go as planned.
Number two, don't forget that we tend to believe things first and question them later. It's important to be skeptical and check if information is true before accepting it.
Number three, just being smart doesn't make us immune to biases. In fact, sometimes smarter people are even better at defending their wrong beliefs. We need to be humble and open to having our ideas challenged.
Number four, surround yourself with people who will help you see things clearly. Build a truth-seeking group, a circle of trusted advisors who offer different perspectives, point out your blind spots, and encourage you to think objectively.
Number five, create a truth-seeking charter for your group based on those Mertonian norms of science. Communism, universalism, disinterestedness, and organized skepticism. These principles promote transparency, fairness, and healthy debate.
Number six, use mental time travel to make choices that match your long-term goals. Techniques like the 10-10-10 approach, backcasting, premortems, and even age progression imaging can bridge the gap between your present and future selves.
Number seven, pay attention to the language you and others use. Words like wrong, expressions of absolute certainty, and phrases that shut down other viewpoints can all be signs of biased thinking.
Number eight, Ulysses contracts are a great way to stay on track and achieve your goals. Make commitments in advance that align with your desired outcomes, even when it's tempting to give in to impulses.
Number nine, remember that hindsight can distort our view of the past. Don't judge past decisions solely on their outcomes. Instead, focus on the quality of the decision-making process itself.
And finally, number 10, think of your happiness as a long-term investment, not a fleeting feeling. Focus on building a solid foundation for well-being instead of getting caught up in daily ups and downs.
There you have it. 10 actionable tips to help you make better, more rational, and fulfilling decisions. Remember, becoming a master decision maker is a journey of constant learning and improvement.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of decision-making. We hope you've learned some valuable insights and practical tools to help you navigate the complex choices we all face. Until next time, keep those minds sharp and may all your decisions lead you to success.